If this room was a lot darker and I saw those two shadows approaching, I'd be a little freaked out. And it has nothing to do with the tone of this album either. It's kind of odd. I should talk about it though. Welcome back to Y.E.S everyone. Today we're going to talk about Hotspot, the 14th studio album released by the Pet Shop Boys. So I have to say one thing right off the bat. I do not come from a fan background of the Pet Shop Boys. I'm aware of their work, not to a high degree, so I'm not going to pretend like I know too much about them. I feel like I've heard some of their music in the past, but I'm not going to pretend like I know too much about them. So let's start with what I think of this album. I actually had a pretty fun time listening to this album. Some of these songs are things that I wish I would have on the dance floor, or in places where maybe I don't need to be on the dance floor, but dancing is an option in case you wanted to give up and move your feet. It's one of those things where you feel like there's a setting for it. It does play a little bit with an 80s kind of sound, not for the whole thing, but you can kind of tell. And it's just something where I just think, why don't we incorporate this a little bit more in the fluff that I feel like we get in some of what we are considering should be our mainstream music. Tons of these songs have just some fun to offer, and I feel like we could shake things up with inclusion of a few of these songs in our everyday music. Really, to just get into this album, I feel like I just gotta look at each of these songs and talk a little bit about each one based on what I heard. The song You Are the One, it's a little strange, but it is charming from an old-fashioned call to love in a way. The song Happy People is just kind of a funny, danceable 80s techno pop song. The first song I think is definitely a highlight song I'm going to include here is Dreamland. Now, this song has the potential to be one of those songs where you think there might be a little bit too much repetition, but at the same time, it's one of those where you can overlook it if you are into the song. Some of the songs just kind of have that magic touch where the repetition is kind of what makes the song a little bit more interesting, a little bit more catchy, a little bit more 1, 2, 3, 4 to dance to. So sometimes you just go with it. The other song I think is really worth looking at is Monkey Business. Fun lyrics, but the very biggest surprise in here is the great strings that are in this song. It's like it has a classic edge to it. The song Only the Dark is what I would consider, going back to the 80s, a high school dance song. I feel like at this point I'm past that, but I could be a chaperone, and I feel like if that song played, I'd be like, oh, so this is a throwback, but the setting's appropriate. Huh, good job, DJ. My idea. Now, as I said at the beginning, I don't have an immense amount of knowledge with this band. I mean, 14 albums in, it's not like I'm going to squish all of it together and be able to know everything about them. So, if you know a lot about this band, I'd love to get your insight on this album versus others. If you are slightly newer to this band, like I am, you may think the same thing I did, where you think the lead singer kind of sounds like a British version of Death Cab for Cutie. Or is that just me? I'm not sure. Please let me know if anyone else thinks that. As for flaws with this album, I think the biggest one that I have is a slight lack of creativity. This album is very fun and enjoyable to listen to, but there are moments where it doesn't feel like it stretches itself enough, or it feels like maybe it could have added a couple of additional musical elements to it. It doesn't feel like it did really anything deliberately bad. It just feels like there may have been opportunities to make the songs better. The only song that I felt was kind of off is Wedding in Berlin. The beat is okay, but it's kind of a weird mood song. It's one of those things where it kind of doesn't really feel like it earns the kind of awkwardness that comes with it, but I don't feel like it's necessary. I feel like you either go along with it or you don't. This is one of those songs where I'm just like, I don't know about this. It just kind of is a little too awkward for me. Aside from that, and maybe a little bit of pacing in some of the production, I found myself really liking this album. I feel like this is another one of those things where I feel like, yeah, let's take a couple of those and put it here for everyone else to hear and see what sticks. Because I think that there are more people who would enjoy this if we just put it out there. So after having listened and reviewed this album, with production of 88%, creativity 83%, expression and lyrics 90%, I'm going to give this album a yeah/good. Some of the songs are a little odd and it has a slight mixed bag, but for the most part, this is enjoyable. I feel like some people are definitely going to like this more. I feel like a few people will be a little maybe awkwarded out by the style of this music, but I don't feel like too many would. So let me know what you think of this album. Let me know which song you think is the most interesting or one that you can get yourself on the dance floor with. Just, yeah, comment below. I'm curious. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. And remember, if you want to discover, promote, and review the best in entertainment, remember to like, subscribe, comment down below, share, all that great stuff so you can get that yes in your life. See you next time.